Hello everyone, my name is Maddie. The social problem I decided to talk about is drugs. I chose drugs because they're an important issue in our society today, and unfortunately they have been for a very long time. Drugs are everywhere. You can find them in the most unexpected places. Drugs are a substance that has the properties to produce psychophysiological changes in the individual who ingests them. There are many different types of drugs that people tend to become addicted to. Some of the major ones that we see in America are opioids, cocaine, and alcohol, which I won't go into alcohol. I didn't know a lot about drugs until I went to college. Coming from a small Iowa town, in high school, we never really talked about drugs, or just like, don't do drugs kind of thing. And I never really saw them in my community, but now that I've been home and I know what drugs do and what they look like and stuff, they're everywhere. Although I've been to many places where they've been using drugs, they have used drugs, and I've seen immediate effect and long-lasting effects they have on people who use them. Last year, I was a resident assistant at North Platte Community College, where I had to go through pretty intense training to prepare me for pretty much anything. Since North Platte has a really bad drug problem, we had to be able to identify if drugs were around or present, and if they were being used, if we were ever put in a situation like that. Drug dealers and drug users often take their use very seriously from what I've seen. One of my classmates in North Platte was actually shot 6 times point blank for being short 1 gram of weed. So sometimes it's not just an addiction, it's life or death. The biggest question about drugs is why people use them. The truth is, it really depends on you and your lifestyle. If you were brought up in a home with drugs present and available, then you're more likely to become a user. That's kind of a given. People just like to use drugs to feel good, or at least think they feel good. Sometimes they're used to induce transcendent states or enhance one's consciousness. Some people want to feel more connected on a spiritual level. Others use drugs to enhance moods, maybe take the edge off or become more relaxed, or even to induce excitement. Many people who get hooked on drugs at a younger age started taking them just to fit in. Drugs affect some people very tremendously from person to person. It completely depends on the user's moods, expectation, or personal history. Drugs are a social problem because they are illegal in this country, with the exception of weed in several various states. More than 21 million Americans have at least one addiction to a drug. Many people who use drugs don't really see it as a social problem. They just tend to think that it's their own problem because they're the ones using. Well, a drug addiction rarely just affects that one person. It's known to be like a domino effect, and it knocks down all the people around the user too. And it also entices younger individuals to start using. An individual neglecting their responsibility as a result of drugs can negatively affect their career, their children's education, or their family's financial security. Their impact can also extend outside the immediate family. Friends or community members who rely on their presence or companionship can suffer from their absence. Not only does the absence hurt others, the underlying conditions can hurt them too. There's a lot of health issues and concerns that come along with using drugs that also affect others. The most permanent effect of drug addiction is death, which becomes more likely through addiction because of the increased tolerance allows people to overdose more easily. Not only is the legality of drug use a social problem, but there is heavy correlation between drug use and crime. It is illegal to carry many of these drugs, but the individual's lowered inhibition when under the influence can encourage them to commit other crimes. The type of crimes that the individual may commit when on drugs is dependent on a variety of sub-factors. But regardless, drug users are way more likely than non-users to commit any type of crime. Petty theft in order to obtain drugs and fulfill their cravings when desperate is another way in which drugs influence individuals to commit crimes. My classmate that was unfortunately killed in North Platte is an example of a petty crime due to drugs. Drugs have been a well-known social problem for nearly 50 plus years, probably longer. In the 1970s, President Richard Nixon declared the war on drugs, which he tried to make drugs harder to get. So this has been an ongoing battle for many years. There's no possible way to really get rid of drugs. I mean, you can make drugs from about anything. The problem with our prison system is that people that go to jail for drugs, using drugs, having possession of drugs, is they don't get help when they're in jail. They don't get the rehabilitation. They don't get all the right things corrected in jail, so when they come out of jail, they are the same as they went in. So some ways to fix this social problem that would really help our country out is providing inmates with the help they need to become drug-free. Another would be rehabilitation centers, or like addiction centers and stuff. Could be cheaper or free to people who need to cleanse themselves, so drug users are more willing to get the help they need because they don't really have the money to go to a center and pay so much money to do that because they're spending all their money on drugs. That's their problem. So that's my solutions. Thanks for watching.